Ty, last thing, would you attribute to the right heart set and mindset to be able to do this?
99%. It's real, like, strategies aren't hard to learn. They might seem overwhelming the first day, but they're not hard to learn. And I'm not a brainiac by any means, you know. I'm a I barely did any school. I mean, my mom was a wonderful teacher, and I focused more on experiences and stuff like that my whole life. I didn't go to college. I didn't do any of that. And I'm not some math wizard by any means at all. But I am comfortable learning stuff, and I am comfortable putting myself out there. And that's all it really takes. Everything else is wrapping your head around the rules and focusing on doing things that they're laid out to do, not to choose your own way. And like I said, let your brain get in the way.
So good.
Less brain is better, actually.
So what are the secrets? How do some of the most successful entrepreneurs find the freedom that we all got into business for in the first place? How did they find the time, energy, and resources to launch and scale strong? And how do entrepreneurs like us align our time, money, and energy in a way that will allow us to reach what we set out to achieve? These are the key questions, and this community will give you the answers. Welcome to the Prosperity Movement.
It's just an honor to have you a part of the community, Ty. And, you know, like it's just been so cool to watch you develop into this, you know, your discipline just keeps getting better and better as you continue to go through the program. You know, it's very obvious that you've gone through some ups and some downs, ebbs and some flows, just like the market does, just like you do in life in general. It's been challenging, and it might even have been painful in a lot of ways, but here you are, you're gaining some like more and more consistency and more confidence, man. Just honored to be interviewing here today. I'm going to let Zach go ahead and take this interview away because he is our phase one educator who is helping so many students back engineer their full power and potential. So go ahead there, Zach.
Thanks. And yeah, Ty, it is great to chat with you. I'm excited to see what we all can learn from the conversation. So first thing I want to do, just because a lot of people, they have this kind of inner self-doubt, right? They kind of think, oh, there's no way I could be a trader because charts and numbers, and they just immediately assume that it's something unattainable. So tell me about your background. Like, do you have a background in charts and numbers and things like that, or what's your background?
Not really at all, actually, but my background's basically 99% on the sea. I grew up as an only child sailing around most of the Eastern Hemisphere, or Western Hemisphere, sorry, Eastern Pacific, with my mom and dad, cruising through Mexico, Central America, Caribbean, and was home taught for a good portion of it. I went to about 5 years of organized school my whole childhood, and I didn't do all that well in it because more the social aspect. I was just like, well, I'd rather be out surfing or fishing or doing that. So that was where it all kind of started. And then I got into professional sport fishing at a really young age. And at 13, I started kind of apprenticing on bigger boats, and I did that through high school. And then I just took off with it. And I've been doing that literally since I was 13 years old until now.
So you're a fisherman.
Yes. Yeah.
A pro fisherman. That's awesome.
Pretty much. Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of charts and computers involved with that profession.
Well, there's a lot of reading water temperatures and,
Okay.
charts, currents and stuff like that, weather patterns and stuff like that. So I wouldn't totally relate it to that really till now, but but I've always had an interest in finances. I've worked on these. Once I got into the private yacht industry, I'm working for some, my last boss was a true billionaire, and the intrigue of how they got there was, it was always intriguing to me. So I was always into like how these guys got to this level and what they do with it after they get to a certain level and to get them to that even next level. So I would say if there was any draw, that was probably it. And then the draw to like, wait, I want to want somebody driving my boat one day,
Heck yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, okay. So I like that a lot. What, so you found that there was an opportunity in the fishing industry because of your experience and what you've seen people be able to accomplish. How would you compare the opportunity of trading to that?
I think it goes right in line. I mean, most of the people that I've worked for and seen, they were a bit entrepreneurs. They started off with an idea, or they enhanced an idea and they just ran with it, or they just, over 50 years they've created millions and just grinding. So um, as far as trading goes, it was more introduced to me. I had it in the back of my mind. I was playing around with it. I got introduced to it through a friend of my ex-wife's that is a Canadian. My ex-wife is from Vancouver, and they introduced us, and that was basically right at the start of COVID, 2020. And I didn't do a whole lot with it because I was busy. I was charging on fishing. We didn't get slowed down very much because we were in the private yacht world, to where that's where people escaped to for COVID. So we kind of stayed busy. And it was kind of start off to give her something to take off with, and that never really worked out. And then after we got divorced, I picked it back up. I started, well, what's all about, and started kind of diving into it then. And it was a struggle. I thought it was confusing. It was like, I'm like, well, this is something I definitely can do, but this is not really the roadmap that's conducive for the time I have to give to it either.
Right. Right. Very, 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 very interesting. Yeah. So I know for Bryan and I, like we've been entrepreneurs a long time, and it is grind, 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 like you said, right? And that's the thing that, and we were willing and still are willing to do it because for us, it was the best path that we knew, in order to reach the financial and the time freedom that we were seeking, not to mention the impact that we wanted to have. We want to leave a positive footprint in the world. And however, trading was a little bit different because like you don't have to grind, right? Like once you have this,
you don't.
right? Like once you have the skill set, like you're literally making money by pushing a button at the click of a button. It's not even a metaphor, right? And so that's something that when we first heard about trading ourselves, which we were introduced a similar way that you were, that's what intrigued us, is like, wait a minute, you mean we don't, like, obviously you have to learn and there's effort and there's practice that you have to put in to master it. But there comes a certain point in time where it's like, you're literally just pushing a button in order to make an income. Right. And so that was one of those things that intrigued us. Less grinding, still making profits. Right. So, okay, cool. Let's shift gears a little bit, Ty. So great. This has been awesome. Were you with us when we started the original Job Killer program? JK 101 is what we call it nowadays.
Yeah, I was actually with you before that. End of July of 21. I think we just started grits.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So you were with us even in the grits time. That's awesome. So if you could compare Job Killer 101 with advanced, obviously we could say that the Job Killer advanced strategies are better, but if you could, in your own opinion, what makes the advanced strategy better?
Well, there's more options to it, and it's a little bit slower. I remember when I first started 101, it was like I looked at 10-second candles like, you're out of your mind. I'm never going to be able to keep up with this, And then now I'm bored with them. It's like, it's like, God, I gotta wait a whole 10 seconds. So, but to answer your question, the advance it seems like there's a lot more confirmations instead of just clicking away. But 101 was great. I mean, my biggest hurdle through this whole deal has been mindset, and not necessarily focus, but I've been born and bred to win. And if I don't win, it's not demolishing to me, but it's hard to lose. So that's been probably my biggest struggle. And in 101, I mean, it was it went so influential in the beginning. Like I think I doubled my account in 8 days, and then I exploded it in 8 minutes. You know? So, and that was right before we did all our interviews and stuff. And then I was like, geez, I'm going into this just like on a, you know, on a cliff. And then we started educating and brought it all back, you know. So it's been a journey, and I've done that more than once, but it's, I think breaking that not curse, but that, you know, that snowball has been my biggest accolade or my biggest accomplishment through this whole deal so far, not to mention the skill set that from just a year ago to now. I mean, you know, it was kind of chopsticks a year ago, and now I feel very confident in all the strategies. I just got to put the brain behind it, you know.
Yeah,
Keep the brain in the right direction.
So would you say then the advanced strategy to you is it's less risky because you have more indicators to help you make a better decision?
Well, along with the risk mitigation, the indicators, you know, and the confirmations of indicators makes it definitely a lot less risky, I think.
Perfect.
After practice, obviously.
Of course. Right. I love it. I love it. Okay. What strategy is your favorite strategy as of today?
As of today, GA is probably the best I've had, best success I've had, most comfortable I am with it. Really want to break into the edge. I did for a little bit, and then it was weird. I didn't lose confidence in it, but we did a training with GA. I want to say it was a week or 10 days ago, or with you, and then I'm like, and we haven't touched it in a while. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try that again. I was just like, oh, I remember this is pretty fluid. Like, so I just stuck with it over the last week.
And I saw you when you re-entered, it was like 6%, 6% gains.
Yeah, I'm like, well, let's just let this run for a little bit.
That's amazing. What do you like most about the guardian angle strategy? You said it's more, what'd you say? I think you said liquid just then, or fluid?
Well, for me, it felt, you know, it's pronounced, the plays are pronounced. So it's like, okay, that's exactly what that is. That's what this is. This is what this is. There's not a whole lot of guesswork in there. And, you know, only real mistakes or misclicks or, oh, shoot, the candle dropped right at the last second, or, oh, I didn't look at the MACD when I hit the button or something like that, you know?
Yeah, silly mistakes that we all make
Right.
on occasion. Yeah. Very cool. Okay. So now we're going to get into a little bit more about the support. So in a little bit of a preface here for people, I don't know how we're going to cut up this interview or anything, but I have offered very, very little one-on-one support to Ty. I think I've done 2, maybe 3 reviews of your videos because you're just consistently winning. Like it's just so rare to see you have a lost day. But at the same time, you show up to every single call. Like you don't miss a training call. You're always there, always ready to learn and absorb, which I can't help but think that has something to do with your consistent wins. So tell us about what you like about the support and what's helped you the most.
Oh, for sure. The support's awesome. And not, I mean, not to take anything away from you guys, but the support of the entire community and the other students is huge. And it makes you feel confident as an individual to see other people win and even lose, you know, it's at the same time, because it's letting you know everybody's human, everybody's out there, and they're all on the same path in some direction, you know. So, but the support for me, I mean, in the beginning, especially in advance, some of those reviews were literally life-changing for me. It's like, oh God, okay, there's the missing dot right there. And then I just tried to run with it. And to be completely honest, I've had other lost days, but it comes down to my brain going, I can't admit to that. I'm not going to put that out right now. I'm going to get that back and then put it out, you know? So I know that's probably not the best way to do it, but that's where my head goes to on certain lost days. And there hasn't been many, and it hasn't been in a while, but I go, okay, I lost 3%. Well, I'm going to get that back before I check in, you know, so stuff like that.
I don't think you're alone there, man. I think
Because I look at it like a bar to set or accomplishment or like, God, I don't want to let these guys down in a way, So it's like, I'm going to win and then show it back.
I don't think you're alone. I do, however, think that is something you can improve on, right? So if
For
we think
sure.
about,
For sure.
I would say the vast majority of people in our community are competitive.
Right.
Vast majority.
Well, I think that's the kind of mindset it takes to want to indulge in this,
Well, I mean, so I'm kind of 50-50 on that. So I think in almost any endeavor you want to succeed at, whether it's sports or business or sales or whatever, you have to be competitive and want to win. You have to have that drive. And I know me and Bryan, I know you obviously, Ty, we all have that drive. And the challenge comes into play with trading is when you have a loss, and let's just say it's a 3% loss, something manageable, but you don't want to sit there at that loss. And so you trade again and again and again. And now you're in a bad mind space, which makes you make bad trading decisions. And all of a sudden your 3% turns into 30%. Right. We've seen that happen. We've experienced it. I know me and Bryan have experienced that before. It's an awful, awful feeling. And so when it comes to actually trading, you do want to win. You do kind of have to have the drive to win, but you also have to be willing and okay with losing, And then I found that when you have that balance, you'll lose once every 2 weeks or so and won't even phase you, right? You'll be like, great, there's a loss day. Great, I'll start again tomorrow. And then tomorrow you win. And then you win another 2 weeks in a row. And then you have one little loss day of like 3 to 5%. Right. And it's just it's a beautiful thing when that's occurring. So there's room for improvement yet, Ty. We'll keep going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, that support and that what it really comes down to, I really love about what we have here, and that continues to grow, people are starting to click with and starting to get a lot better with it, is I mean, it really comes down to the accountability, right? Because the reality is this: in life, no matter what it is, whether it's trading, whether it's sports, like I don't know an NHL Stanley Cup champion that hasn't lost games throughout the year, or even in that 7 game focus, right? Like very, very seldom do you see a Stanley Cup champion or a Super Bowl champion or Grey Cup or any of those things, MLB championship, go 7 straight games complete blowout. Right? Like that's not possible. It doesn't exist. And what our strategies allow us to do with the right consistency, the right heart set, and the right mindset, and the right focus, is that it allows us to get a ratio much higher than it normally would be, to the point where you're going to win more than you lose over and over and over again. Like it's not uncommon to see our crew go 2 weeks without a loss. But then the problem is that most people, I don't know if anyone else out there like this, I use the cheesecake analogy because I love cheesecake. Maybe somebody's listening to this and you don't like cheesecake, so maybe it's Black Forest cake. I don't care what it is. But you got a cake on the table. You take a piece of cake. The longer that cake stays on the table, the more cake you end up having, right? So it's like, so you got to get the cake out. There's nothing wrong with having 1 piece of cake. There's nothing wrong with having a piece of pizza or 2 pieces of pizza. But now once you start eating the whole thing, it starts to hurt you, right? And that's the problem that we start seeing, is that when we've got these competitive nature individuals that are not willing to walk away with a loss because they don't want to check off that lesson box on their sheet. They want to see green across the board, and it just eats at them to not. But it's the best thing for them is to just take it on as James Leone would say, take it on the chin, recalibrate, call it a day, come back, right? And because if all you did was that, you went 2 weeks. Even if it was just a week, you went a week with 1 loss, all manageable, all recoverable. You're just fine. You're up. You're already still winning, but you're choosing to believe that you just lost, but you didn't, because you're still winning. You're still ahead.
Exactly.
Right? But we don't know. We're going to go grab another piece of cheesecake. And then all of a sudden the whole damn cheesecake is gone and you feel like shit.
It's true. And I think the self-realization and where my goal is set on that side of it is to more look at them like monthly wins or losses than a daily win or loss, and
Yeah.
that's where I'm trying to focus it right now. It's like those little and overall because in my sport fishing history, like some of my biggest wins come after a shitty day, in money and just in tournament fishing and all that stuff. It's like, wow, we're in the hole, boys, and then the next day we just shoot the moon. It's like, okay, killer,
Yeah, that's amazing. This is great. What a great conversation. Okay, so I have one more question on my list of questions that we haven't answered yet. So Ty, if somebody comes in and they've learned about all the different products, services, support, different things, that strategies that we have to offer, and they're on the fence whether or not that they want to join, or if they want to pursue a different opportunity, what would be something that you would say to them?
I think more so than the wins that this community is producing is the integrity and the support that it's producing. And what I mean by that is there's so many things to click on in the get rich world and the marketing world and the freelance this and the click funnels that, it's like, okay, everything's going to make me a millionaire tomorrow. And it's just, that's not the approach you're taking. That's not the level of support you give and the level of friendliness and, wanting to get to know your students and stuff like that. It's not a cattle drive here. This is one-on-one support, and that, I think that's really what sets it apart.
Perfect. Love it. Bryan, do you have any other questions for Ty?
I don't have anything really prepared, but I'd love to keep the conversation going. I mean, could you describe, we've kind of got bits and pieces here, but if you were you said you went through the process with the other academy that we were all a part of at one point in time, and then coming to here, could you kind of and you just kind of identified just the overall space of making money online and all that kind of stuff. What would you truly say if you were to bring it down to one word that really sets the prosperity movement apart from anything that you've really seen before?
Personal support.
That's 2 words.
Well, take it as one.
Personal support.
Take it as a phrase.
Have you ever seen anything quite like the prosperity movement before?
No, I haven't. And I think, one of the bigger attractions, especially people that are coming in new, that should be after being here for a while, is the reviews. I mean, nobody else is providing a review, a video review. That's insane. That's awesome. That was influential for my education process. It really was.
Can you explain, just because we obviously explain some of how the support works, but it would be awesome if you could just explain the process of how we're able to review people's trading sessions.
Well, it was made really easy on when you guys introduced Loom to recording your trading, and basically you just hit a button. I mean, I have it on my browser. You just hit a button and it starts recording your screen when you're trading. And not only do every time you lose or every time you trade, you should be submitting it, win or lose. And then when you lose, Zach or Bryan or whoever your educator is takes a quick look at or a full analysis of it within 24 hours. And you get a full analysis back on the mistakes you made, the good stuff you did, what you could have done different, if you even should have been in the market or not. And for me, that was just influential. And not only that, but it kind of forces you to go back and look at your own mistakes and critique yourself at the same time. So for me, that was influential, really.
You said something really, really pinnacle in that statement. It sounds like you know what your ideal market looks like and when to get the heck out of Dodge.
Yep. It's just listening to that voice though.
Yeah. Yeah. Too good. Too true. Too true. No, like, and that's just it, right? Like, it really comes down to, like, man, this is something as leaders here at the Prosperity Movement. Like, I don't know. Zach, I think, does a little bit better job at managing this internally, but for me, it like I wrestle when I see our students make rough decisions, and then I'm like, okay, well, how much of this is me? Like, and I think that's the other thing that really makes Prosperity Movement so different is the accountability on the educators and the program and us, like a 90-day guarantee and all that kind of stuff. But like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, how much of what we provide and how we provide it, does it really make it about like personal integrity and personal accountability with oneself? Like, how much would you say is our responsibility as educators with what we've outlined so far, and how much is it actually the students' responsibility when it comes to their results?
I think that for me, I'm always kind of a shoulder, it's like if I take my own mistakes, I take my own, my own problems, I do my own fault. I'm not a big blamer. If I'm going to blame anybody, it's blaming myself. And the biggest thing I can probably blame myself on is when I am struggling is I don't ask for help. And that's just been my mentality for too long. And so as far as the other side goes, I think you guys are more than open. You give so many different avenues on how to reach out, personal attention. If you just want to talk, there's so many different avenues that you can reach out on. I think it's 99% on oneself.
Let me just point out a couple things that have happened recently that show how serious we take this. Okay, so I don't remember when this was, but we were having a board meeting once, and we were specifically talking about one student. We were just like, okay, what can we do to help this person? I don't even remember who it was. This was a little bit ago, and we had a brand new board member that was on that call for like, it was his first time, and he pointed out, he's like, I can't believe you get everyone that's involved with the business to talk about one student, because that's how much we care, right? Because this one student was struggling. What are we going to do? How do we help them? And then this other thing happened yesterday. We have a newer student kind of wanting some feedback. I told him, you know what? I told him this on Tuesday. I'm going to watch your video today, even though you didn't lose. Like, I just want to watch it. I want to see if you're on the right track. And I didn't do it. The very next day, Travis calls my cell phone, and he's like, hey man, that new student just reached out to me and said that he was wondering if he missed your video or something, like where you normally send that. Do you send it through email or do you send it through the hub? Like, and so Travis is like, did you do it? And I'm like, no, I didn't do it. And so I went ahead and did it right away the next day. And I was able to apologize, but that's how seriously we take it. If we don't do something we said we're going to do, we have partners and team members that will hold us accountable and be like, hey, you said you were going to do that. Why didn't you do it?
Yeah. Well, we typically try, and I posted that the other day. Like, we try to get it all done within 24 hours. And if it's not done within 24 hours, I want students to understand and to know that, hey, one, we're human. We actually have tech issues from time to time. So like when that thing goes in, I've seen it go to spam before. Sometimes it just doesn't even go through. It's like, so if you don't have a review within 24 hours, if you don't ask, you don't get. You technically are with your first initial one, but my thing is that, hey, if it doesn't go out back to you within 24 hours, reach out to one of the other leaders to double check with Zach. Like, reach out to me, reach out to Travis, and then we'll double back. Consider sometimes that your educator might actually be sick or have something going on in his life. So it might take a day or two extra, but we got to consider that as human beings. But at the end of the day, like you said, the value surrounding, I don't know any other organization in this space or any space for that matter that would take the time to have someone from the organization to actually review how you're doing. Most other platforms, you're paying thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars for the education that sometimes has holes in it, has you confused, you have questions, and they just point you back to the education that has you running around in circles in the first place. But yeah, here we are. We have
And that was
four.
the big problem with the last platform. It was just like, well, here it is. Go through it as many times as you want, and then here's all your educators. Start copy and pasting. It's like, man, you know, and there's some value there. I'm not going to say there wasn't, but there was also, it's like a lot of losses too fast because there was no support. And I think what you just said, what you and Zach just said, just proves the backbone of the support that's provided here. And it is up to us to check it to use that. But at the same time, there's multiple times over the last 6 months, year, whatever, that I've gotten, hey, how you doing? Or just checking in, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, cool, right on. They're looking out for me, you know, and that's confidence in itself.
Yeah, we do that, especially with newer people, but of course we reach out to the OGs like yourself.
We do our best, man. Like I want to do that as long as I can, but and the reason why we're doing it now is that's the culture that we want to duplicate and to multiply, right? What is that with your kids? You do as I say, or is it monkey see, monkey do, right? Like, no, like watch me do something different than what I say and then see what happens, right? But we really, really do our best to illustrate what we want. And then the interesting thing is we literally have, I kid you not, we have students making more money than us right now. And there's a reason behind that. The funny thing is they here's a statistic for you. You may have heard it before, but it takes 90 days to make or break a habit.
Right.
Ty here was one of the first OGs, right? But the interesting thing is as we were learning and making mistakes and then like making changes based on, oh, there's something that we need to make sure that people don't make those mistakes. Now people are coming in and they're learning the right way because they're learning from our mistakes, right? Meantime, we're still shaking off some of the cobwebs. Like they are literally following the program and the system that we got going on here, and they're completely slaughtering it over and over again. And then we have these OGs that are actually, they were struggling, and then all of a sudden they're developing things. And that's where it's getting really fun, because now it's not just me and Zach developing things, right? Like, I've developed my own stuff based on what I felt I could see was working for me and all that kind of stuff. Zach has things that people are really gravitating to. Some people are gravitating to my stuff because, you know, they're starting to see, okay, well, these are things that are correlating a little bit with going into phase 2. So, you know, they see the value in kind of going through that and trying to working through all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, now we literally have students developing their own strategies. What? What? Like,
and some of them their own solutions, right? So like if they have a discipline problem with stopping, we just had this happen with the safe idea that we shared the other day, right?
Oh,
Just
I would be a millionaire if I knew about the safe.
I know. I know. Me too. I'm sitting here like, Zach, we're actually gonna hit those goals a lot
I've been
better
staring
now.
at that button for a year. I'm going, why didn't I push that a year ago?
Oh man, it's so brilliant. So brilliant. So good. He literally doubled his account, guys, in just like a few weeks.
Yeah.
And he's been withdrawing, like we're talking
Every week.
like, every week, and even to a point of almost daily a few times I could see on some of his submissions. It was like, holy mackerel. Like, and this is a guy that was having all the same problems that everybody else does with the cheesecake.
Yeah.
Right?
He was a cheesecaker, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's all you had to do is do this whole safe thing. Why didn't we see this? But it is what it is. And so now we got to start. This is a brand new habit. And so I feel so excited to see, and like, I can't wait to witness your progress, Ty, like from this point on, because even just the developments within the last week, like you said, like truly, where do you see the value in that piece of the vault? Like, what do you think that's going to do for you?
Oh God, because it becomes into a state of mind to get to that clicky position or whatever. It's not even really about winning or losing at that point. It's almost like a drug where it's just like, oh God, bam, 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 bam. And it's like, whoa, once you can stop that, like, it's almost like a dog barking at another dog. As soon as you just break their attention, it's like, oh, okay, let's get back on track here. And that's what I think it will do for me and hopefully others too. But it's like, okay, we're at zero. Boom. All right. It's kind of like that guy that goes to a blackjack table to lose his stack, not to win it.
Yeah.
Once you can break that, that little cycle that you get in momentarily when you're tanking an account, it's changed. It changes your whole direction. You just stop.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, what are we doing here? Boom, let's get out of here. Turn the computer off. We're out.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah, and that should be the response, right? The reality is now there is no, I mean, there really was not before,
Right.
but there's a reason why you don't want to, like, let's not mention names. We have a student today, and I've done it before too, right? I don't want to submit my video today because I don't want you to see what I did. Right?
In there, yeah.
Right? But if all you did was stop where you were supposed to stop, you would have been okay with submitting your video, right?
I actually already called her to talk to her about that. And then I said, guess what? I'm gonna break you of that habit of the fear of submitting something because you're afraid of me watching it. I'm gonna watch it now. And like, not to like point out like, oh my gosh, why did you do that? That was the dumbest thing. Like, I never do that on these reviews.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see.
You could, Zach. You're too nice to do that.
I'm gonna see what led up to that, because there was a certain set of conditions that led up to that terrible decision, right? And so I'm gonna see, like, was it a frustration on the market or was it a frustration with yourself? Because it's one of the two. Either the market, you're playing perfectly in line and the market is not behaving, or you make mistakes, get frustrated with yourself, make another mistake, get frustrated, more frustrated. Like, which is it? And I have to know, because that helps somebody identify how to prevent that in the future.
If you can't label it, you can't overcome it. And it's like any addiction. And like, here we are, we're talking about addiction. Guess what? You can be addicted to your phone. You can be addicted to food. You can be addicted to alcohol. You can be addicted to anything. So a lot of people are afraid of trading. But the reality is, if you can be disciplined here, just like you could be disciplined with just only having one drink or two. Hey, I was admitted in a hospital 3 times for drug and alcohol induced psychosis between the age of 17 and 21. Today I can actually have 2 or 3 drinks with my family and say, hey, you know what? That's it. I refuse to wake up with my eyes feeling like they're in the back of my head and that there's a desert in my brain. And like, like, I refuse. I just want, it's not a part of, like, it's just not something I allow in my life anymore. So when you can draw lines in the sand, there is absolutely no reason for the average Joe or Jane. I even going to go ahead and say, I can't wait to teach my kids this. Okay. There is no reason. I believe our programs are worthy to go in high schools, junior highs, and if that is under the right supervision, with the right mentality, with the right coaching, with the right support, there's absolutely no reason that anybody with that, like, I think, what does James say about the monkey?
A gifted
You know what I
monkey
mean?
can do it.
Yeah, like, a high profile monkey could do this. So like, there is really no reason for you not to be able to do it. It's just a matter of you making a decision, drawing lines in the sand, developing the right discipline. And if you're afraid about that, you definitely need the right accountability system. I can go on and on, but I'm going to digress.
Yeah, we're going to have to wrap it up here in a few minutes, but is there any last words of advice, Ty, for someone just coming in?
Oh, stick with it. And I think I had a thought there, but I forgot about it. But there's so many times in that, with, you're still kind of in that mode, but you get that 4th trade and it like bails you out of the day. You're like, ooh, okay, I'm walking away from the computer. Finally, I made 3 bad choices, and this was probably a bad one too, but it worked. But I made it. So try, like, and what I've done now is try to recognize it more on the 1st and 2nd lot size. Instead of take it all the way to 4 and just go like, oh man, please bail me out. Instead of, and I think that's part of the Gates program and slowing stuff down and using smaller lot sizes. Because in the beginning of JK Advanced, there was a lot of, not necessarily influence, but it was widely known that we were trying to do it as fast as we could. And at least how I perceived it and how I wanted it to be. So the way that this community's evolved into like slow it down when things get a little high pace, or even start off slow was a big pivoting change that I think is going to help a lot of people. But as far as advice, man, just don't quit. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be days where you think you shouldn't be doing this anymore. There's going to be days where you think you're not good enough, but it's like James says, and it's like you guys say, a trained monkey can do this. It's your brain that gets in the way.
I just posted what you just finished saying. I feel like I'm not good enough, that I feel therefore I am syndrome, I'm not good enough. And then this idea that I'm a failure, that's the thing that's going to take you out. And all of those things are fallacies. None of that's the actual truth. Like what did Henry Ford say? But I think if you think you can, you think you can't, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, I always tell people, look, I'm not a religious guy. You got to go hear these inspired scriptures on what God has to say about you. Because if you only took that, like that Henry Ford thing, a lot of people are not even listening to Henry Ford. But if you understood where he got that from and where the root of it all is and the truth of those aspects, again, I did a video on this in the Wholesome chat yesterday. I'm not going to go on a tangent here right now. I'm going to reel it in. But when you come in here to the prosperity movement, most people are coming in here. I know that everybody's being attracted by the idea of you want to make more money. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of us are taught that money is the root of all evil. No. There's nothing wrong with you developing skill sets, earning more income, driving more impact. It's a beautiful notion, right? I watch people get consumed in this process just as much, where that's all they're focused on, and somehow it starts to rob from them because they don't realize they're operating from a greedy place or from a place of lack. When you're coming to prosperity, we got to help you clean out your heart set, clean out your mindset, and get you on the straight and narrow with the things that are more important than money so that you can make more money. Right? Like, how much, Ty, last thing, would you attribute to the right heart set and mindset to be able to do this?
99%. It's real. Like, strategies aren't hard to learn. They might seem overwhelming the first day, but they're not hard to learn. And I'm not a brainiac by any means. I barely did any school. I mean, my mom was a wonderful teacher, and I focused more on experiences and stuff like that my whole life. I didn't go to college. I didn't do any of that. And I'm not some math wizard by any means at all. But I am comfortable learning stuff, and I am comfortable putting myself out there. And that's all it really takes. Everything else is wrapping your head around the rules and focusing on doing things that they're laid out to do, not to choose your own way. And like I said, let your brain get in the way.
So good.
Less brain is better, actually.
That's awesome. Brilliant, man. I love it. So good. Well, thank you so much, Ty, for joining us today and bringing value to the community. People really need to hear your story. I know we haven't talked about numbers because we want to be careful with that. We did on one of the calls the other day in the back end, but congratulations on making that nice, juicy withdrawal and getting to the place of confidence where you're going to be able to do that over and over and over again. Like, what did you do? Quadruple your account?
Yeah, I quadded it, and then I got scared and took like 75%. Well, I quadded it and I took 75% out and started back at basically the starting point again to just protect myself in some sort of a way. And it felt good to not only feel like you took something from it, but you're also starting again. Kind of helps you because you talk about these pivot numbers, and I was at that, like, I'd edge above it and creep back down, edge above it, creep back down. I'm like, okay, let's start over basically. And it's starting over with a win, and it gives you a different confidence.
And it sounds like this new vault thing really fed an inspiration in you because you could see what that potential is gonna unlock for you.
Oh, for sure. It's like watching a savings account grow, or putting your paycheck in in the bank. It's doing this instead of doing this, or So, and along with your withdrawal plan, I think that's a great idea, but the safe in its own is a way to do that on a daily basis.
Mhm.
Okay, I hit my percentage, throw it over there. Hit my percentage,
Mhm.
throw it over there. And it's
And again, like
for you to
all of
do
the
that,
principle.
for you to do that on an upcline and you're on a win, and to put it over there, it's not putting it over there on a loss. You're like, you're happy to put it over there. Great,
Totally.
cool. This is my goal tomorrow. Okay, great, cool.
Totally.
This is my goal tomorrow.
And then again, your principle, if all you're doing is taking out what you're willing to risk for the day, your daily percentage, and having the principal all in your vault, then there's literally no reason for you to get clickety McClickerson, because you just got to
No.
stop. So
And
we
even
covered
on the
all-
loss day, I think there's something psychological that happens there where it goes to zero. You're just like, well, I'm done. It takes somebody a lot to go into another account and pull that. Like,
Yeah.
there's another issue there than if we're going that route.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. There was already an issue in the first place to go past that.
Right.
But now if you've got to pull it out and get an email notification, I think Zach is talking about seeing if we can even do two-factor authentication.
Well, I want. I think
It's like running to the ATM at a casino. It's like, geez,
if
go
if
back
you
to the
really
room.
yeah, if you really wanted an accountability partner, there's no 2FA, unfortunately, on the safe. I wish there was. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But what you can do, like if you want your spouse, for example, to be the accountability partner,
Make sure
what
they
you
get
do
the
is
emails.
every day you send her the statement from the safe. Okay, like
Mm.
she can say, I'm going to look at the statement every single
Yeah.
day.
Accountability partner. But and it's interesting. I know you keep bringing up the whole. Does this actually feel? This has to be the last thing, I promise. But does this actually feel like? I know it can, but if we are following the system properly, is it gambling?
No, not at all. It's a calculated understanding of risk, and there's plenty of indicators and confirmations in place to point you in that direction. You can turn it into gambling if you want to, and your brain might real fast, but it's far from it.
Yeah.
And I think there's plenty of success stories out there that prove that.
So good. Dude, I freaking appreciate this and I love it. And I'm looking forward to the community getting a ton of value out of this. Ty, thank you so much for your time, brother.
No worries. I appreciate you guys and happy to do it. And thank you so much for being you.
Awesome. Thanks, bro.
Awesome, Ty. Thank you. We'll see you.
Peace, y'all. Awesome.